Karen, you get paid to watch those Sunday morning shows. I just
do.
can't. I can't stand them. They drive me nuts because
Well, yeah. And it was confusing this weekend, right? I mean, the point of Jay Sekulow was going on the shows was to clear up the confusion from the president's tweet on Friday when he said he was being investigated for firing Jim Comey. But that sound that you just played right there, that doesn't really clear things up. The lawyer at the same time saying he's not being investigated, saying he is being investigated, and acknowledging, well, I can't read the mind of the special prosecutor, as he said in another interview. And even the issue of how would they know they're not under investigation, the lawyer says it's because they've received no notice of that. But, lawyers are saying that's probably not how it would go down anyway.
No, because as I understand it, the FBI and all these other agencies, they don't bother to tell you that you're under investigation until they come up with
You'll
something.
find out.
Yeah,
right.
We'll send you a letter and tell you this is what we found. That sort of thing.
And also at this point, I mean, this kind of gets back to that original notion of when the president fired Jim Comey, and he wrote in that letter to Comey, I appreciate you telling me 3 times I wasn't under investigation. I mean, there's so many issues about telling somebody they are or they aren't, because things could change in a day. Things could change in a few hours. And I think when you look at what Jim Comey said when he testified 2 weeks ago now up on Capitol Hill, he certainly indicated he figured it was heading in that direction. When he was asked about obstruction of justice, he said, well, you'll have to ask Robert Mueller about that. But once the president told Comey, I hope you ease off of Michael Flynn, right there, that was going to trigger the alarm bells that could set off this inquiry into obstruction of justice.
How much of this is politics trying to basically divert our attention from other more important matters, do you think? Or is that the case?
Here's the thing. You have Republicans, you have Democrats up on Capitol Hill who are trying to chug along on the legislative agenda. Over on the Senate side, they're working on health care. You've got a whole host of other things that are going on the House side. The White House says they want to focus on policy. The president's allies say they want the president to focus on policy. But the reason we keep talking about this, I mean, Russia is not going away. This investigation is going to continue for the foreseeable future. So it's always going to be a story. But the president keeps tweeting about it. He said the phrase witch hunt, I think, about a half dozen times between last Wednesday and over the weekend. And, last week, the president goes down to Miami to make this big Cuba announcement. I traveled down there for it. Reporters were all down there. And the president never tweeted about it. He was talking about Russia all that morning. So there's this kind of, chicken or the egg of, well, the media is only covering the Russia story. Well, that's all the president's talking about. Yeah. So you have some in the White House who would say they'll acknowledge to us that if they could just get him to stop talking about it and try and channel his social media activity towards what they want the headlines to be, that might make things easier for them.
How about the president going to Camp David this weekend?
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah. First time up there. Not exactly his preferred weekend getaway. He loves going down to Mar-a-Lago. He likes going to properties that he owns, and he's a golfer, so that's not an option up there. President Bush loved Camp David because there was a big mountain biking trail that he could spend hours on. So they were up there many, many weekends, especially in the second term. But just to note, the Obamas didn't go up there all that much either. The girls had a lot of activities on the weekends with school, and the president liked to golf, so it wasn't his preferred choice to go away either.
I have a suspicion it's because Barron and his mother have arrived in Washington, and this would be an opportunity for him to get out of the White House and run around in the woods some. And I mean, that's
there's
just
no press up there. It's
exactly.
Very secluded. I've been up there just a handful of times, but not even near where the president's property would be, where they would stay. But it's beautiful. But it depends on what your preferred, I'm personally a beach person, so I wouldn't want to go up there either. I don't blame presidents if they don't love Camp David, but it is an available option to them. They did it for Father's Day weekend. And you're right, it is like the first full week that the First Lady and Barron Trump have spent in the White House.
All right, Newt Gingrich is going to join us a little bit later on this morning at 6:50. Give me a question for him. Any question?
Oh, man.
No. Don't run the list.
He over the weekend was talking about how the president is infuriated, and which is interesting because there's a lot of reporting about how angry he is. I would say, does anybody have the ability to rein the president in on those tweets?
Very good. That's a good question. I'll give it a shot, okay?
Great. Let me know tomorrow how it goes.
Okay, Karen, thank you so much. Karen Travers, ABC News correspondent.